And one of the
Mhm.
other managers went, whoa, wow. You just, you just you just learned something there. It's like, yeah, I can have a strong opinion about something, but in the course of the dialogue, figure out that, okay,
Yeah.
there are exceptions, there are extenuating circumstances, that, yeah, something else might be a viable option. But yeah, I think it might be so rare that other people watching it commented like, whoa.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't just go blow to blow, fighting
Yeah.
for their point.
Welcome again to It Doesn't Take a Genius, conversation with introspective perspectives and pithy points of view. Here are your hosts, my friends, Max and Marty.
I think that's Mark and Mike.
Yeah, whatever.
Ramsey!
Marshall. I'm gonna try to salvage my voice a little bit. I've been nursing the tea. We've had we've had an hour long, close to an hour long dialogue before we pressed record. Ironically enough, to have a discussion about having dialogue. So, hopefully the voice holds out after all that.
No, fantastic. I appreciate you pushing through the pain, the debilitating injuries, and you're all in. You got heart.
That's exactly right.
And we appreciate that.
Now, I know you have heart because you've been flexing your speaking voice this morning already. So what can you share a little bit about your adventure today?
Oh, yeah. I was at an elementary charter school today. It's reading week. And so they asked me to come in. Apparently, I'd written some children's books, and they wanted me to read one.
Yep.
And so I read from everything from pre-K all the way up to fifth grade. And
Nice.
the first thing that I learned was teachers need to be paid double. Whatever. I don't know what they're paid now. Double it. And
Right.
there should be an open bar in the teachers' lounge. They should just
Yeah.
be able to go and get a White Claw,
Yep.
shot of bourbon, and then go back into the classroom.
I'm ready.
Yeah, that's all you got, kids. The kids were fantastic.
Yeah. So you were saying this, and I'm it reminded me of some stories that I'm going to share after you drop this little observation you had about what it was like there. But before you get into that, I do want to highlight, you're probably right that teachers are underpaid. If you look at most of our educational bills and so on and so forth, and how we've been funding education, we end up funding administration and research around schools, but not actually the teachers who are in the classroom, able to impact a life directly. So there's got to be some truth to that. And anyway, you were at the school and had kids of all ages in the same room.
Oh no, I did it 4 different times. So I had
Okay.
I had pre-K, then I think I had kindergarten and first, and so yeah, I had different age
Gotcha.
groups and things like that. And the first thing that I did was thwart the system. So I always start off asking a few questions, and they always politely raise their hand, wait to be called upon. It takes me about 3 to 4 minutes to just blow that up, where I got
Yeah.
them all talking at once. People are just spitballing and shouting out answers and going. And I'm
Yep.
sure if I was gonna teach for 8 hours a day, this would never work.
Yeah. Not sustainable.
Yeah, it's not. It's just too much chaos.
Right.
But getting that flow of ideas where they're talking and they're building on each other's ideas,
Yeah.
and everything down to I was asking him, what should Harry, Harry the Hugger, the hamster, what should he do next in his next story? And they're like, he should fight dinosaurs. Yeah, no, hippopotamuses. No, there should be an alligator and a dinosaur. And it just,
Oh,
just spirals out of control. But the one thing that really struck me was the quality of the questions.
hmm.
And so this was about reading and writing. And so I said, what questions do you have, for me as an author? And, you got the usual, how long does it take to write a book?
No.
And I'll ask them to guess, and it's either 20 minutes to 100 years. They got all sorts of guesses in between. And then, but yeah, I got questions like, where did the inspiration for the books come from?
Question.
One fourth grader goes, so tell me how you develop a plot. I'm like,
Also a good question.
first of all, I was impressed. He thought my book had a plot. Nice, incredible compliment. One of the kids, another fourth grader, he asked, does every book have to have a twist?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and so we unpacked that. We talked about, okay, what are your favorite stories, and do all your favorite stories have twists, and how does that pull you in as a reader?
Mm-hmm.
But these are fourth graders, and their ability to ask questions, and to think critically, and to share ideas. I don't find that in kids who are a few grades up from them.
Well, so interesting you say it that way, because I just got back from the barber, and as you can tell, 1.5 faded on the side.
Oh, yeah.
So my barber, they have a lot of young men that come into this barber shop for obvious reasons, and come more often than I do for obvious reasons. They keep it nice and manicured up there, and they have started noticing something. This just came out of the blue. The barber was telling me this morning that they had a problem yesterday, that there was a series of young men who just did not have the ability to have a conversation, that they just didn't know how to interact. They didn't have the ability, and just kept sort of looking down at the floor, and just didn't know what to do. And it came up that another one of the barbers had been noticing sort of something similar with the high school young men who had been in his chair. And he had started sort of doing an experiment that he would try doing something to really lift them up, give them some sort of compliment or encouragement, even if it was as simple as, man, the fact that you're graduating from high school is a real achievement. You need to be proud of the fact that you graduated from high school. Congratulations, you're almost there. Things like that. And I said, let me guess, they're hungry. And he interrupted me. He said, yes, that's what happens. They're absolutely hungry for the praise. It's like they've never had it before. I don't know what's going on at home. And, to your point, I don't know what's going on at school. I don't know what's going on at home, but it does seem like as you get a little farther along, that it's like we lose the ability. We get it programmed out of us to have these conversations, to be able to have a dialogue.
I think you're exactly right, and it's a skill that's no longer practiced. Ask any parent who's trying to call their teenage child. The child will not pick up the phone, but they will text them. What do you want? It's like, well, what I want is for you to answer your phone. I'm not doing that, Mom. That's not happening. And I think about my daughter's first year at college, and she went on this website, right after her senior year of high school ended, and she matched up with somebody that she wanted to be roommates with. She wanted to have a roommate. And so for the entire summer, they conversed. And who's bringing the TV, who's bringing the fridge, and all that kind of stuff. And I asked her, once a week or so, I said, have you talked to your roommate? Oh yeah, we talk every day. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I said, did you talk to? Yeah, we're talking. What you guys? I figured it all out. We're all good. So we got there. Her roommate was already there. Walked in the room. They interacted for about 10 minutes, and you could already tell this wasn't a match. Good kid, right? Both of them were quality kids. There was just no chemistry. So
no chemistry there.
Like good college, parents, we took them out, for their final parent bought meal. So we took them to lunch. And you just sit there watching them actually speak to each other and just not working. And so at the end of my daughter's first semester, she switched rooms. Right. She's got a room by herself. And it was at the point I asked her, I said, what do you think happened? She says, I think I probably should have talked to her like on the phone at some point. I said, so the whole summer when I was asking you, are you talking to her? You never spoke to her voice to voice. Nope. Never saw the need for that. And she says, but now,
Yeah.
truly see the need for that.
So I think I mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I met a gentleman who had a son who was a professor in New York, and he asks his, I think mostly freshman classes every year, what are you most afraid of as you come into the college, life? And this last semester, the whole class that he was asking answered, I'm afraid I'll have to speak. And he's thinking, like, I'll call on you and you'll have to speak in front of class. And long story short, no, like I'll have to have a conversation. That's what they meant, was I'll have to speak with somebody instead of text or do it some virtual way. So this is a real issue, and it basically leads us to probably our article that we're mostly going to focus on for the rest of this podcast episode. It's from Carrie Newhoff, and it's a little bit older. We've put it on the blog in the past, and we'll link to all of this. But Carrie Newhoff is a pastor in Canada, and sort of known as a organization guy, a leadership guy. Interviews lots of people that you and I both know as sort of leaders and thinkers in this field. But anyway, this particular article, just the title is this: Why All Future Leaders Will Be Great Conversationalists. The prophecy here is that if you're going to be a leader in the future and you want to be successful at it, you're going to have to figure out how to be a conversationalist. So we've got some thoughts here from the blog, but I guess before we sort of spill the beans on what he says here, Mike, initial thoughts just hearing that phrase, that a leader should be a conversationalist?
Well, I think it goes back to our conversation in the last podcast where we talked about start with why. And so the opportunity to start with why, explain, your vision, your mission, what's the whole point of this thing?
Right.
That can only be done through conversation. Yeah, I can
Right.
write it on a nice placard. I can put it on the wall, maybe even draw you a picture. But at some point, I've got to be able to tell you in a conversational, storytelling manner where it is that we're going and what's my vision and the rationale behind all that. And so, if I can't do that, we're done. I can't even get started at this point. The thing I liked about the article was it dispelled the old paradigm. And so it talked about, a generation ago, a leader was regarded as an expert.
Right.
And we hear so many, people my age, right? The boomers of the world going, they just don't respect their elders. They should do it because I say so. And it's like, nope. That is gone. Right. And so you no longer you're not regarded as an expert. The part about knowledge, right? I have some knowledge that you don't have.
Yeah.
Well, give me 12 seconds and access to Google, and I will have the same knowledge that you have, and the authority of position. I'm the manager. I've got a clipboard and a helmet. You must listen to me. Don't care. Don't care anymore. And so now, the only thing left is my ability to have a conversation and sell ideas.
Yeah, and that's he uses the example of car sales, which of course you and I have a lot of experience with, and this is something our stores, our clients talk about all the time, that the guy coming in probably knows more than you do in many cases about the particular model he's trying to buy. And so if you approach him as the authority and the expert, well, I mean, obviously, you should know as much as you can about your product, and you should know the why, as you said earlier. You should have some passion for what you got in front of you, and be able to communicate that face to face. But you're not going to be able to be the expert. This guy has been living, eating, and breathing the car that he's been researching for months now, and is coming in armed for this conversation. It just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And in leadership, it's going to be really similar to that. People are going to have that ability to, if it's not Google, it's crowdsourcing, right? This ability to go talk to their network and quickly come up to speed on the things that they need. There are just so many different ways that make the positional leadership not as important as what you're actually doing and engaging in your leadership. So he gives some examples, or I guess I shouldn't even call it examples. He gives some traits that he thinks will characterize leaders who have become skilled conversationalists. So I don't want to steal too much from Newhoff's article, but I want to give us sort of a chance to riff on some of this, because we have dealt with this over and over again. The first is to assume intelligence, to come in assuming that your audience is smart. Now, from a leadership perspective, I think we've seen this happen where a leader will try to maybe they assume that intelligence could happen, but they sort of try to keep everything from the team so that they don't get intelligent, where they sort of keep all their secret knowledge behind the vest, and assume that that's their secret sauce, and that they can parcel out some of their knowledge and know-how at the right moment, and that's what makes them a great leader, is that they have all that know-how and the other people don't. This is saying, just go ahead and assume that they're going to figure out that stuff anyway, and that that's not a big deal.
Well, I think it speaks to the old idea in education. Right? There was the empty vessel theory.
Yeah.
And that all the students were empty vessels, and it was the job of the teacher to fill the vessels with knowledge. I'm gonna take your mushy brain, I'm gonna mold it into this knowledgeable thing. The latest idea in when it comes to teaching is to assume that they have intelligence and they have some experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then can I build upon that experience that they already have, and take what they do have and just add to it. And I think that when you assume intelligence, I think that's a big piece of, they're not empty when they show up.
Right.
They've seen things, they've heard things, they've done things, no matter what age. Whether it's a first grader or somebody that's been in the workplace for a while, they've all seen some stuff. And go back to your car example. So one of the things that we now teach salespeople in the car business is to, early on in the conversation, you want to ask the customer, have you been on the internet researching?
Yeah.
And some salespeople, when the customer replies yes, the salesperson goes, oh God.
Yeah. Right.
Oh Lord. Oh, this is not going to go well. And then the opposite approach is, fantastic. We find that it's much easier. This process goes so much smoother when people have done some research before they get here. So what have you figured out?
Yeah.
Now you're assuming intelligence, you've assumed research, you've assumed you've learned something. Share that with me so I don't have to bore you by repeating it.
Right.
Then I can add any pieces that maybe the internet didn't complete.
And notice what you're doing there is you are asking open-ended questions. You're getting a conversation going. That takes us to trait number 2, which is to invite the dialogue. That goes for somebody in sales. That goes for somebody in leadership, that you want to pump out of your people as much meaning as you can, and provide meaning to them as well. So it's got to be a two-way conversation. And you can't be afraid of that in leadership. You got to actually invite it. It's the one thing that can be the lifeblood of engagement in your organization. So I think your point's really well taken there.
Oh yeah, and we talk about this we talk about this in our workshops, whether you're talking about coaching or you're talking about sales. We talk about the 80-20 ratio.
Yep.
That the client, the person you're engaged in the conversation, you want them speaking 80% of the time. You should be talking 20% of the time.
Right.
And you're thinking, if I'm selling something, shouldn't I be doing all the talking? Not in this
Nope.
modern era. No,
Yeah.
no. I need to discover what they know, what their wants, their needs, their likes, their dislikes are, and that only comes from asking good questions and then engaging in a dialogue.
That's right.
And so, yeah, if I'm monologuing, like I'm a super villain,
Right.
giving my diabolical explanation of how I'm going to take over the world, nobody cares. They've
Yeah.
tuned you out.
Yeah.
And so they don't feel there's a connection. So the odds of a great understanding or a great interaction, a great transaction, not going to happen.
It's funny you said it the way you did, because I can remember schools that I visited when I was looking to enroll in a college, and I had a couple monologuing schools, and I just thought, what are you doing? I had one school that monologued, and I was like, after 30 minutes, I needed to be out of that office. Like, this is not where I'm going to go. If this is what this is not where I'm going to go. Another school allowed dialogue, but it was with the students, and it turns out they were really dumb. Like, they it was not good representation, so that the dialogue was poor. Where I ended up going, and it was sort of a foregone conclusion at that point because I had no money and I figured it out. But the school that I went to, I ended up talking to the director of the honors program,
Ooh.
and she wanted to know more about what brought me to the school and what things I was interested in studying. And she asked me questions. And so, guess who to this day I have, her email address and stay in touch with. And there's I've donated to the school, right? Like, I really got bought in once that relationship was developed. Well, the relationship develops over time, but it has to start right with me and you sharing some information back and forth.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just picturing 18-year-old Ramsey, and this honors director says, what brings you here? And it says, well, I'm tired of getting lectured and talking to morons. I was hoping it would be different here. And lo and behold, it was.
I
Yeah,
kept that very close to the vest, I will have you know. I would never have said
oh, yeah.
such a thing.
You're smooth. Yeah. Smooth even in your teens. Yeah.
Well, so during these dialogues, one of the things that happens is, the differing opinions show up. This is true in sales. This is true in leadership, right? You have people that disagree with the policy that we're deciding to pursue. They think there's a better process out there. Maybe in some cases they're right, and we're going to find that out. But in some cases, we have a reason for sticking to our guns. So Carey Nieuwhof says, respect differing opinions while holding to yours. So I think respect being the key word there, that I'm going to give you the dignity of the fact that you came to your conclusion with, some reasons. You didn't just come up with this out of thin air. You're not evil just because you think differently than I do about this. And let's continue our dialogue. But I'm going to hold my ground as well. There's respectfully speaking, this is why I believe what I believe. So I think that's another side of this dialogue that he calls out in this trait here.
Oh yeah, it happened to me yesterday. I was in a business, and I was talking with a group of 4 managers, and I shared something that I had learned over the years doing this, and then one of the managers pushed back, and he said, "No, my experience is completely different." I said, all right, so tell me about what you're talking about, and the scenario you had was different enough than the general scenario that I was referring to, that manager was right. The system that I proposed would not have been the most effective one. And so he got done, and I said, I hadn't thought about it in that context. I think you're absolutely right. In the situation you're talking about, my way would not work. I think in the more standard situation, I've seen it work, very frequently. And one of the other managers went, "Whoa, wow! You just, you just you just learned something there." It's like, yeah, I can have a strong opinion about something, but in the course of the dialogue, figure out that, okay,
Yeah,
there are exceptions, there are extenuating circumstances, that, yeah, something else might be a viable option. But yeah, I think it might be so rare that other people watching it commented like, "Whoa."
yeah. Well,
somebody didn't just go, blow to blow, fighting
yeah,
for their point. It's like, no, I can, if you show me another way, then yeah, I'll stick to my principles up until the point where you can prove that there's another way to do it.
yeah. I've been in that scenario, and it's weird how everybody sort of turns, and the room gets quiet and the attention's really focused because they think a fight's about to break out. It's like and for some of them, I do believe it sort of goes back to our young men we were talking about. It's uncomfortable. This is about to break out. And the answer is it doesn't have to, but I'm glad it held your attention, because that means we were in tension about something, and that's a good thing, right? That means we were wrestling down to the real meaning of what's going on and getting to the truth of something. We all need that. That it helped both sides. Both sides learned.
Oh
And
yeah, I learned, they learned. I got to clarify my point.
yeah,
where I was making my point in too general of a fashion,
yeah,
where there was faceted nuances to it.
yep.
Yeah, everybody benefited from the dialogue and the fact that, yeah, we had differing opinions, and the manager I was speaking with had the place was safe enough that he could offer up a differing opinion.
Could you please put that on your tombstone? Faceted nuances.
That was really good, wasn't it?
I'm picturing a really attractive tombstone with some angles, and anyway.
Yes.
So related to that, his fourth trait, Newhoff says, do your homework, right? You have to arrive at this conversation knowing your why. Now, again, when you read the article, you're going to see that it's from a Christian context. It's from a pastor's point of view, but I think that applies to just about anything. You need to know why you believe what you believe. Why your policy is the right policy, why this process change is the change that you made, why a personnel decision was made. All of that needs to be thought through. And so it's fair to say, do your homework. You had obviously done your homework in the scenario you brought up, I think is easy to say.
Yeah, I had seen this for the last 20 years,
Yep.
but not in the scenario that this person proposed it. And so, yeah, I was very confident my way forward was a viable solution.
Yeah.
So when you think about do your homework, I think there's another piece of this, which would be to try and put yourself in the other person's shoes. If I can see it through their lens, if I had lived their life, come up through the organization, whatever it is, if I can put myself in the shoes, there's a pretty good chance I may be able to clearly understand, okay, if this is what I knew, then I may also have come to the same conclusion that this person did. And that allows us to talk to, where did I come from with this? And then my homework, I see that you've come up this way, and this is your line of thinking. Right. Yeah, let's see where the gaps are, and if we can fill those gaps in, see where we get to.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. The fifth trait, to wrap this up, the others have kind of gone in a sequence. This one sort of is a universal application, and it's kind of modern. Engage online. So, obviously there are certain conversations that need to be voice to voice, face to face, because they're tense or they're complicated enough that, the meaning wouldn't get across. But I know this is something that you've made as a part of the coaching training that you and I have conducted, is to talk about how you go about asking questions and how you go about coaching. One of the things you say to do is, I believe it's use all channels, right?
Yeah. So we've got all this technology, we've got all these channels. And when we think channels, you can think, email, text,
right,
Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, Slack, Basecamp, Microsoft Teams. Right?
Stop, it hurts, Mike. Stop.
Yeah. The channels are endless. And so think about, if I'm gonna engage in this, are all the channels useful? And
right.
So just had one this week. We started a conversation. The leader of the organization sent out an email asking for everybody's feedback on a topic. So then you could read the emails as they came back and go, okay, all right, I see where everybody's coming from on this. Yeah. And then he's following it up with an in-person meeting. The in-person time is so valuable that, all right, I want to get you you're thinking about this early, I want you to clarify your thoughts to the point where you can type them out, and everybody will have seen them ahead of time, and we'll be able to start this thing, at a very high
Mm.
level when we get in the room at the same time, and use every precious moment of this face-to-face time.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's that would be check this out. That would be an omni-channel approach. Yeah, I'm killing it with the words today.
So
Yeah,
modern.
I'm telling you, elementary school is good for me. I need
You've
to
been
go
saying
every
that for years.
I need to go there, every morning. Yeah, but yeah, let's use all the tools. Whether it's a Mentimeter, a Kahoot, right? Get some feedback. All of a sudden, we're able to dive into the conversation without the normal warm up period and topic introduction period.
Yeah, and you and I have in one of our workshops, we've had an example where a text went out. The GM responded to the text, the general manager responded to the text with a question, and then there was a response, and then there was another question, and there was a response, and then there was another question. And what ended up happening was the person got their own answer and also grew a little bit as a result of what was essentially a coaching interaction that happened, I guess you'd say asynchronously. They were doing it sort of not live, but when they could, and never had to have a phone call about it. But the question got answered, and the person grew as a result. So that it can happen. You can even coach without it being live. We'll put a link to this article in the show notes, as they say. We'll put a link to the blog post as well, because we throw some resources in there because this is so part and parcel to the concept that is near and dear to my heart of dialectic. That there's this thing that has to happen, a bundle of skills that comes along with the idea of having conversation and really thinking through with good questions and a good wrestling match over ideas that allows you to arrive at what's really true. And that's what dialectic is. It's very, very similar to what we're talking about here. So we'll link to all of this in our show notes. And show notes, I guess I should say, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, give us a 5-star iTunes review, all the things that you're supposed to say at this point. I don't even know. I don't even know what's happening.
Me neither. No clue. Two book recommendations on this topic, in addition to the article. So I would think The Coaching Habit, which we've referenced many times, Michael Bungay Stainer, follows a lot in this model that we're talking about. And the other one would be the Storyteller's Secret.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, a wonderful book about, if I'm going to be a conversationalist, right? Part of that may entail telling a story, and one that's engaging and gets people, to lean in to what it is that we're talking about. So both of those highly recommend, and give you a more nuanced toolbox to draw from when you're thinking about how do I become a great conversationalist.
Yeah. Just make sure the facets are nuanced. That's a main part of this discussion.
It's kind of like my head is faceted nuance. It's got these stealthy angles to it. Yeah, kind of frightening. Speaking of conversationalists, there's our narrator, the man of few words but powerful words. Please take it away, Mr. Wolf.
And that's it. Join us next time when you'll hear Mike say, well, I'm sure he'll say something pithy. Don't miss it. Next time, it doesn't take a genius.
That's good enough.